Hey, witches! Just a little disclaimer here at the top of this episode. We've recorded this Tuesday right before Mercury went into retrograde, and we had a lot of connection issues with our guests, unfortunately. And now we are realizing that there is a bit of a lag between our audio and her audio. So it may sound like we're talking over her at times, and that just unfortunately is not how the actual conversation went. Our side is kind of popping up a few seconds before her side does. So I know that might feel a little annoying, but we do really believe this is an incredible and important conversation, so that we hope that you make your way through it and just know that Mercury's in the microwave again. So enjoy this amazing interview with our guest, Amber Renee. And as always, thanks for listening. Hey, witches. If you are enjoying Waking Up the Witch, then you're definitely going to want to check out my magical shop, Moonbee's Wellness, in Medford, Oregon. We have a curated collection of crystals, incense, sage, witchy books, tarot, oracle, and so much magic made locally here in the Rogue Valley. Whether you're just beginning your witchy path or you've been on this journey for quite a while, we have so many items to support where you are in your journey. And we ship anywhere in the US, so no need to be local. But Moonbees is more than just a shop. We are also a sacred space and supportive to your healing journey. I'm a Reiki master, and I also offer a lot of intuitive sessions, including past life readings and past life regression sessions. And all of this can be done virtually online, so I can help you no matter where you're at. Come visit us in Southern Oregon, or follow Moonbees Wellness on Instagram and Moonbees_Medford on TikTok. And remember, magic's this way.
This episode of Waking Up the Witch is brought to you by Taylor Pickett Styles. I'm Taylor Pickett, and I am an intuitive hairstylist in Southern Oregon. I offer in-person services as well as online tutorials on how to care for your curly hair, how to properly shampoo your hair. If you're a hairstylist, I offer lots of education and one-on-one consulting on how to build your clientele and take care of your clients. If you're interested in any of these services, please reach out to me. There will be a link in the bio. I also offer organic hair care from Innocence Organic Beauty, and you can also buy that online through me, link in the bio, and also on my Instagram page, Taylor Pickett Styles. I also have a TikTok page if you're into just talking a little bit more deeply about things, going into deeper dives about hair care, self-love, and self-worth. My TikTok handle is Southern Oregon Curl. And don't forget, tame nothing, nourish everything. Enjoy this episode. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Amber.
And this is
Waking Up the Witch. We're your neighborhood witches. Each week, we talk about all things witchy and connect with other humans in a storytelling format about navigating life on this floating rock.
We're two curious ladies trying to understand the human experience. But while we do that, we think it's important to honor the people that lived here before us and honor the cultures and traditions that we're being inspired by.
This podcast is about waking up the witch, which means we are learning and growing every day. That being said, we are always open to feedback on how we can do better.
The views and opinions of our guests don't necessarily reflect the views and opinions of Waking Up the Witch. Now, let's go, ghouls. Hello, beautiful people.
Hey.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Taylor. So, hey, I got my sexy, sultry winter cold voice on today.
Nice.
I feel like Phoebe from Friends when she gets that cold, and then she like has this whole other vibe to her where she's like sexy and sultry, and then she gets better and she like tries to get a cold again because she just sounded so fucking good.
In there.
That's how my voice is. I've been sick for like a week almost.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's
Yeah.
it's bound to get you one of these days. How are you?
Um, busy,
Girl,
dissociating.
so much.
I've just don't work 6 days in a row like that anymore. Plus, I had like,
Mhm.
so I worked Monday to Saturday, which, like, what the
That's
fuck?
a lot.
And then immediately went out Saturday night we had an unbirthday party for my father-in-law. His birthday is like a couple days after New Year's, and we just like usually get a quick brunch and then everybody forgets about Alex. So we were like, okay, what if we plan something like a surprise party 2 weeks after, or no, 2 months later, you know?
Cute.
So we all dressed up in like our best Prince outfits and
Cute.
showed up at his pool league, and he was very confused. And we had like a whole outfit for him to change into. He won his pool league, and then we like went to this, oh my god, the dive bars in Grants Pass are just
Oh, yeah, they're real good and seedy.
um like very rural. Then I was like, man, Grants Pass and Ashland could not be more different.
So
But
different.
and then we went and stayed at this, oh my god, it was the coolest house. So my sister-in-law works for this company, and the woman just like liked this house, so she just bought it and no one lives in it, and she like decorated it. She doesn't Airbnb it
I
out.
was wondering what that place was I saw on your
Oh
stories.
my
I was
god,
like,
it was
so
like
cute. Where the fuck are
so
you?
70s, but like everything was kept in pristine condition, and it has like all the old stuff in it, and then she decorated it really cute.
Such a
Um
vibe.
and so like I guess she lets guests stay there when they're coming in to do business, but she doesn't like rent it out or anything. And I'm like,
Cute.
"Can we stay here for other
So
stuff?"
fun.
And then I had one day off, and then I worked yesterday, and then I'm here,
So wild.
and I'm kind of in like a little bit of like dissociative state. And then Sunday I go to Austin.
Yeah,
So
you also like went to San Diego and San Francisco back to back and working in between. You've been go, 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 go for weeks.
I was sick
And then
too.
you got knocked down for a minute in between all that.
But like what even is sick as a mother? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You don't get to like lay
No.
that much. She's just jumping on me like, "Meow."
Uh, Crazy. You're a
Um,
wild woman. Well, thanks for being here today. This is the most fun, amazing, fulfilling job ever.
yeah, I think
So cool.
like back to the busy thing though, it's like in order to kind of hold the amount of like success and money that I want, it requires busyness. And
Mhm.
I think that like for a long time everybody's like, "Oh, hustle culture." I'm like, "Shut up. We have to work for some things, and like I'm here to show up for it. It's not just going to fall into my lap.
Yeah.
I I like working.
Yeah.
I like showing up. I like
Mhm.
bringing purpose to the world. So, whatever."
Yeah. Well, I think hustle, like, for the sake of joy and pleasure and
Yes.
purpose is, like, so different than,
Yeah, I'm
like,
not like
fucking
having a stroke because I can't like
yeah.
keep up with the needs of my corporation. Like
Yes,
I'm like
yes, yes,
fulfilling
yes.
all my life streams and
It's
desires.
everything that you want, that you've created for yourself. So fucking cool and wild.
What a fun
Ugh.
interview, as always. What a
I
cool
mean,
job that we've
it's
created.
just so wild, like, the evolution of our journey with this podcast and all the amazing humans that we've been able to connect with and, like, where we are now. It's just such a beautiful space to be in. Like, I mean, the whole ride has been awesome, but I just every week literally am like, this is my favorite. This is such a cool moment that we just got to have with a total stranger, and I just love the format and the flow and like what we've created and who we get to connect with and the stories that we get to be inspired by and hopefully are inspiring others that find this podcast. And it's just a very beautiful fucking life.
Yeah, share with a friend. I feel like we are bringing so much awesome stuff to the table, to the internet, to the world. And
Yeah.
I think more people need to hear these stories. So if you enjoy this, please, please, please share with everyone you know.
Yeah, this is another empowering conversation and like so timely for everything that is going on in the world. To be able like chills as soon as I say that. Like it's just this really is a very important conversation and I think really inspiring for so many to just begin to, if you haven't already, begin to connect with these parts of yourself and reclaim them and heal them and use them for the greater good of your life and the collective. It's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yes.
And as usual, head on over to patreon.com/waking up the witch
Mm-hmm.
for all of your yummy free treats and paid for treats and all the things.
Yeah, we're about to
Um,
go have a fun rant
I'm
about what's
gonna
happening in the world right
spiral
now.
down a rabbit hole of Pizzagate and Justin Bieber and
Ooh.
the Epstein files and all kinds of stuff. So if you're into that, co- come on over.
Come rage with us after you listen to this amazing episode with Amber Renee.
It'd be a lot of rambling, but fun.
That's what we
And
do best.
then we can just join in the group chat on Patreon and fucking talk about it. I have some
Yes,
like receipts to drop in the chat. I have
girl.
all the things. I will post the
Yes.
videos and whatever. So we'll see you
Oh,
over there.
exciting.
Enjoy
And
this episode.
don't forget to watch this episode over on our YouTube, Waking Up the Witch, as well.
Because they probably shadow ban it because we say bad words.
I know, I thought about that with our last episode. I had to like change some of the lettering and stuff. I was like, oh, this probably will get flagged.
Yep. Okay. Let's all just take a second to close our eyes and connect our energies. We're going to start by taking a deep breath in and release. Another deep breath in and release. And one final breath in and then let it all out. We'd like to take this time to forget about what's going on in the world and to really be present in this moment. We ask that our guides, angels, ancestors, and higher self help guide us through this conversation to bring forward whatever is meant for us and the collective today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Amber Renee. I am a witch, a priestess. I am a leader for women. So I do a lot of work bridging the gap between the erotic,
Yes.
sex, money, power, and leadership. And yeah, I'm sure some of that will come out, but
Amazing.
that's kind of
Yes,
just
love that. So
the gist of
needed.
who I am.
Healing the feminine, reclaiming ourselves
Yeah.
and our sovereignty.
All right. If you could just take us all the way back to Amber, the beginnings.
The beginnings. Okay.
Cute.
I'm just taking a moment to connect with that little version of me and to see what she wants to share today because
Right.
I mean, as women, I feel like we have so many different stories and they all have so many different points. And I think that, since this is called Waking Up the Witch, I can talk about from a very young age being connected
Oh.
to kind of like this unseen realm. And for me, part of that unseen realm is also the erotic because I was connected to my body, to my pleasure. I had my first orgasm at a very young age. And I think the general sense for me of like my deepest wound, even underneath abandonment wounds or anything like that, is actually this story, which developed both around sexuality and knowing that I was different, darker, a witch essentially,
Right.
is this story that I am bad, I am wrong. So I carried a lot of shame from a young age. But I kind of always had like this connection to a deeper, darker element of life itself. I feel like there were a lot of gifts, as I'm sure, many listening can relate, of having these knowings, these feelings, these gifts as a child that were then conditioned out of you, programmed out of you, shamed and judged out of you, and were no longer safe. And so I feel like, in the past 12 years I've been reawakening and re-embodying things from childhood that religion and being in
Yeah.
school and just being a woman in this life has caused me to shut down. But from a very young age, I was connected to like nature. I loved being outside. Um, I had an older sister who was, or I have an older sister. She's 8 years older than me. But by the time I was like coming into like my witch self, I kind of felt like I was still an only
Mhm.
child because it was really just me alone a lot of the times with connecting with animals, being out in nature. I could create these like intricate worlds inside of my head, which I now also see is a gift of being able to create worlds, realms, atmospheres for women to connect into themselves. But obviously, being that age, it was something that I didn't understand. And being connected to my body, being connected to the source of pleasure, and then, so basically what happened is like I could have an orgasm from a very young
Mhm.
age. A lot of children explore their bodies. They, like are sliding down a pole on the playground and they feel something happening. And so
Mhm.
I was just like, kind of grinding my body on things. I didn't know what it was at the
Mhm.
time. It wasn't like sexual, but it was a release for
I had
me.
a
And it
pool jet.
became kind of an addiction for me. And like, yeah, yeah. I mean, so many of my
Yeah.
clients are like, I just discovered it one day
Mhm.
at
Right.
a young age because I was in the bath and like the
So
faucet.
normal.
It's so common, but so many of us get, yeah, so normal, so common. And my parents, like, I
Yeah.
mean, because I didn't know it was wrong, so I'm just doing it everywhere in the living room, whatever. And like, my parents see
Oh.
me and they're like, start taking me to all these different doctors. And one specific memory I have is I don't know what this lady was trying to do, but she had me blowing on a piece of tissue. I
Oh
don't know
my
if she thought
god.
that I
So
was like having
wild.
seizures or what, but yeah, yeah. So that kind of
Something's
started to
wrong with you.
instill the
Yeah.
story for me. Oh, this is not okay. Yeah, something's wrong with me. I'm bad. This is shameful. And so I literally would like I had kind of like a walk-in closet. We lived in like a modular
Yeah.
home when I was younger, which also had so much shame about. Shame has been one of my biggest teachers. And I would like, sneak
Mhm.
into the closet and like touch myself and all these things. And so it's just like everything about what was true and alive for me as a
Yeah.
child honestly just felt like it was laced with shame. Like I just who I am at my core is bad and wrong. And, is drawn to like different worlds and kind of like had a very disassociative childhood where I was always like in this fantasy world and always like kind of not really
Mhm.
fully here on earth, but also completely fully here on earth, if that makes sense. So a lot of my journey has been about reclaiming that nothing about me is bad or wrong
That
and that
is
they're
so
actually
amazing. I'm
sources of
like,
power for
because I
me.
feel like it's one of those moments where I'm like, me too, me too. Like, I totally had a lot of those same experiences. And like, how did you navigate that? Like, did that happen while you were younger? Was there therapy? Like, how did you kind of reclaim that part of yourself? Because I feel like I still live with a lot of that shame.
Mhm. Yeah, I did not reclaim it at all when I was
Mhm.
a child or when I was younger. It didn't start until I was 24. So growing up, as I started to become, like an adolescent and a teen, that energy would kind of oscillate between being overtly expressed in
Yeah.
not great ways or being completely repressed. So I was always kind of like pendulum swinging, ping ponging back and forth in these different times of my life. And then when I was 24, I was engaged for the second time to the same man who didn't like there were times where he had like a sexless relationship. So we were together
Wow.
from the time that I was 18 until I was 24 and our relationship was very tumultuous and you know he would tell me that sex wasn't important, and so I knew, like, I would cry myself to sleep every night laying next to him thinking there has to be more to sex and life, like, this cannot be all there is, because that energy had been there for me
Mm.
regardless of how I
Mhm.
felt, like, I had a lot of pelvic pain and all these different
Wow.
issues, UTIs, bladder infections, kidney infections, which,
Had
you
Definitely.
know,
you
are tied to our
had you had
sexuality and
sex with
especially
anyone
shame around
besides
our
him at
sexuality.
that point, or was he your first? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was not my first. I was actually his first, but he was not mine. But I was 18 the first time sex, and then I met him, like, after I graduated when I got a job, and we just kind of fell into that relationship. And it was like I was on this trajectory, I call it the conveyor belt lifestyle, where the conditioning that we receive, especially as women, is
Right.
your only sole purpose is to become a good wife and a mother. And you're kind of just like conditioned onto this pathway. And so I just kind of like fell into it. And
Mhm.
I was miserable. I was unfulfilled. I was shut down. And it was also because, I was repressed in this energy, but it was also because I wasn't fully expressed in my power, in my desire. There was so much shame around all of it. And um, we ended up moving in together when I was 24. And at that time, I was studying at the Institute for Integrative Nutrition to be a health coach. I had started my business that year in May. And he, after having times where he'd be like, "Yeah, sex isn't important." And I'm like, finishing myself off in the bathroom alone and then feeling
Yeah.
so much shame. I feel like I was living a double life to be honest, where it's like I'm this good little girl, he wants me to be a wife and mother, but then I'm like this secret slut doing things and just
Mhm.
feeling like not congruent, like I'm shutting down and hiding these parts of myself. And
Oh, wow.
also not realizing that he had cheated on me multiple times and had, like, a
Yeah.
porn addiction. Yeah, so there was a lot of shadows in that relationship, and I actually later found out, not to, like, excuse him or anything because he was fucking awful in so many
Okay.
ways, but
He
he had
also had a
actually
lot of
been
shame
molested as a
probably.
child, and so
Yeah.
another theme for yeah, he had a lot of shame, he was very religious, and so, um that's been a common theme for me as well, is I'm like the secret keeper for so many people. Even before I started this work, people would tell me their secrets and I'm like, "What is going on? Why are you sharing these really deep
Yeah.
traumas with me and like desires with me? Like why do people feel comfortable sharing these things with me?" And I think that it
Mhm.
was just like part of my gift, but also um once we moved in, he, I think within like 2 months, had cheated on
Oh
me,
my
knocked up this
gosh.
other
Oh
girl
my
and
gosh.
kicked me out. And that's yeah, that
Yeah.
started my journey. Yeah. So I moved into this little cottage and that's where I kind of rebirthed myself. But I had at that time, and he didn't know about this, but I was struggling with bladder incontinence. And this is before I even became a mother. I didn't get pregnant with my current partner until I was 27. So I was 24 at the time, having bladder incontinence, pelvic pain. My
Wow.
vagina was like so tight you couldn't even get a finger in. And it was just like
Yeah.
once again, going from doctor to doctor, trying to figure out what's wrong with me. And they loosely diagnosed me after like a
Mhm.
lot of really traumatizing pelvic exams and bladder exams. They loosely
Mhm. My
diagnosed me with
sister
something
has
called
that.
interstitial cystitis.
Mhm.
And their solution, yeah, I
Mhm.
don't know if that's actually what I had or have because I haven't had any flare ups since then, really. But it
Yeah.
was kind of like the closest thing that they could come to at the time with some of the testing, and it was really painful and uncomfortable, and their solution to me, it wasn't a cure at all. It was basically just like "Oh, you're gonna have this for the rest of your life, so here's this fancy $180 a month
Jesus.
UTI pill we want you
Yeah.
to take," and I was just like, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." Like, so, that's where I went on this journey of looking at my sexuality instead of keeping it in the closet. I was like, okay, we're going to take this erotic power into our own hands. Like, I'm going to do what I need to do to heal. And so I went on this like 9 month celibacy, self pleasure, sexual healing journey. I used all these different methods and techniques. And I mean, since then, I've done a lot of other work as well to reclaim my own sexuality and my power in that regard. But it was wild to me how connected like sexuality and power and money and my voice and even being, like spiritual and witchy was. Like it's all about expression and power and
Mhm.
feeling safe to be that powerful
Yeah.
as, especially
Yeah,
a
it's all
woman, for
connected. It's
example.
so interesting hearing about all these physical ailments and things that you had and how it's so connected to that suppression of your own sexuality and the shame. I mean, yeah, you can't make this shit up. It's
I
crazy.
mean, it's kind of goes Amber does body code. I don't know if you know what that is. It's like
It's basically discovering imbalances energetically in the body and like bringing the body back into balance or releasing trapped emotions. Trapped emotions are like a big part of it, but it really is like when we trap these emotions or have these imbalances that stay in our body, it creates these physical ailments. Like it, there's so much science around it. It's the body keeps the score, all of that. And so it's just so interesting to hear about your
Yes.
journey. And I love that you, at such a young age too, in your 20s, were able to kind of draw the connection and maybe inadvertently like healing yourself through that process by reclaiming who you truly are. Like, it's so wild. And it just makes me think like it's so important for us to be authentic humans. And like when we are repressing these parts of ourselves or we're too afraid to express ourselves because the world has shamed us, like how much damage that does, not just to our own selves, but collectively as well.
Yeah. It's really intense because the
Right.
conditioning is very deliberately designed, and it's there from the very beginning, from the moment that you're born. There's this conditioning, there's the shame. It's all
Especially
used
towards
as
women
tactics of
or
control and
girls.
obedience. And yes, especially towards women. Yeah.
oh yeah.
Yeah. And I see it now as a mom. I see it coming in full force. I see it in the things that I missed as a
Yeah.
child.
Right.
Like we see it in the fashion that they push for
Yeah,
children now. We see it in the shows. It's baked into everything, and
absolutely.
I keep
it's
thinking about how like
terrifying.
Deepak Chopra was in the Epstein files trying to, and then he's like the guide for people to be like the divine feminine, and
Yeah.
how that was also just a tool outside of like conventional religion to keep women like soft, weak, docile, and quiet,
Yeah.
instead of like
Yeah.
actually the divine feminine is full of fucking rage, and she's feral, and she's protective, and she's sexual, and she's empowered, and it's like every single thing they've told us not to be
Mhm.
is who we truly are inside.
Mhm.
It's blowing my mind.
Yeah, how do we
Yeah.
recondition ourselves and grow a
Yeah.
new generations that they can feel connected to themselves this way without shame while also not sexualizing them? Like
Did you have a daughter? Yeah. See,
Yeah.
I feel like that
I
that's
do
that's
have a
probably
part of the
daughter.
very,
healing
yeah,
too.
very healing. So can you walk us through like after that kind of like awakening, and then like how you kept moving through life, like after almost like a little bit of a rebirth?
Yeah. Well, I love the fact that you brought up the whole divine feminine Deepak Chopra thing, because that was another, like, it's interesting to look back and see so many
Fucking
different
crazy.
pipelines to the alt-right I almost
Yeah.
fell down between holistic nutrition,
Chills.
divine feminine, like all of the
Disgusting.
Look at
things.
my
So
eye.
after that, yeah, I started sharing. It's oh gosh, I
Please
have such
give
Let's
a,
it to
like, you
go.
might
us.
see a
That's
very
all we
passionate,
need.
rageful side of me come out, because I yeah, the sexual polarity world, which mixes in with the divine feminine world, they come together, and you see that they're actually just
Right.
Mhm.
like religion, organized religion, pushing that agenda. And now it's coming out, but I left all of that many, many years ago, because it did started to turn me into a version of
Mhm.
myself that I never wanted to be, and that didn't actually feel true. So after I move into this cottage and I go on this like 9-month healing journey with myself, I start having experiences in my body with my pleasure and my erotic energy that I never knew were possible. I
Yes.
never knew existed. And so rage also came with that
Mhm.
of, why wasn't I taught this about my own body? Why was I convinced that all of this is sinful, bad, and wrong? And I don't think I had language at the
Mhm.
time to understand how deliberate that is and how intentional it is, and that it's there in everything. But that rage that came through, and so I was like, I'm gonna start sharing this. So I started a blog, or I had a blog before, but it was like I went from talking about how to make like bone broth and ghee and coconut milk to now talking about
Yes.
like how to awaken your sensuality. And So there was an element in the beginning of that journey where I started to shift my business from holistic health coaching to not quite yet the full ownership of the erotic, because I was still kind of in the closet with it. It was like, oh, I can play this safe and I can talk about the divine feminine and I can talk about, masculine and feminine energy and I can talk about the goddess and the sacred feminine and all of that. So it's still kind of playing in the light and fluffy terrain, which is so not me. I mean, I can own those parts of me, but it's not what my gifts are. It's not who I'm really here to be. I'm here to reside
Mhm.
in what I call the red feminine and the dark feminine. And so I went down all of these different pipelines that I didn't realize were pipelines at the time, where I become involved in like all of these spaces that are about the divine feminine and sexual polarity, and start following teachers like David Data, who are teaching that it's the masculine, AKA what they really truly mean is men. I don't care what they say about everyone having masculine and feminine energy in most of these spaces.
Mhm.
They are still very heteronormative. And what they mean when they say masculine is men and feminine is women, even
Mhm.
though obviously there's a million polarities besides those. And I love working with different polarities. It's not just about those two. There's, I mean, so
Love
many
that.
different opposites within us that we can play with. But nevertheless, I get absorbed in this world. And I mean, it was healing for me at the time, because even though I couldn't see that there was still
Mhm.
so much conditioning and patriarchy within it, there was what I was able to
Right.
find in it was like the connection to the goddess, the connection to these different parts of myself. But, eventually started to realize, oh,
Mhm.
this is just preparing me to
Mhm.
be subservient to a man. So I continue down my journey. Eventually, I realize I'm hiding behind like the light and fluffy feminine. I'm not fully owning the erotic. And I kind of come out of that closet again. And I feel like it's just been, I've been an entrepreneur for 12 years. And that's also been coinciding with this journey of like, that's where I started to connect with the dark feminine version of, the feminine, where it was like Lilith and Kali and these more
Mhm.
like powerful aspects that have to do with rage and primal sexuality and freedom and power, and not just this safe, submissive version of the feminine that we're fed in a lot of these places. So, um, my business started to shift,
Mhm.
and women were hungry for it. And eventually, I'm also an entrepreneur, so I
Uh-huh.
realized, oh, all of my money shit's coming up as well. I have a lot of scarcity. I have a lot of like fear around money. I have shame around money. And so I'm going on this journey. It's like the sexual journey and then the money journey. And I think they're separate, but they actually begin to converge and come together. And I'm like doing a lot of my erotic practices with money, like connecting to money in this like pleasurable way and doing these rituals with money. And then my business again starts to shift into working with clients around money and leadership and business. And at the same time, it's like there's always these iterations and chapters where you become expressed and then you reach another edge and you realize, oh, I'm holding back still. What part of me am I holding back from? And it was the, like, darker,
Mhm.
witchier parts of me, like, not owning that I was a witch, not owning that I was a priestess, not owning. So the path has just continued to evolve, and I've just continued to embrace these different
I
chapters of
would love
myself.
to
And,
deep dive a
um,
little bit because, like,
I
Waking
don't
Up
know if
the
that
Witch
answers the
started
question, but
as like starting from the very basics and giving people information about witchy stuff that they don't really know. So to go back to these different like entities like Lilith and I don't remember
Collie.
Kali,
Mhm.
can you explain like who they are from your understanding and like how you work with them? And then you said something else that I wanted to touch on, but just start there.
yeah. Well, Kali was one that I started connecting with, I would say in 2015. I had read this book, and now I think it was like Awakening. I can't remember. It was by Sally Kempton, like Awakening the Goddess or something. And she went through these different Hindu archetypes of goddesses. And so Kali is an aspect of like the dark feminine. I think she's typically depicted as blue or black. She has this long red tongue. She has a necklace of skulls around her. and she's typically standing on top of her dead lover Shiva's body, and she's like dripping blood. And so that was kind of like a scary, it's the primal, it's the rage, it's the
Mhm.
forbidden, it's all of the deep, it's the killer instinct, it's the raw sexuality, it's everything that we typically, especially as women, are taught to fear, that makes us dangerous, that makes us bad, that would not
Mhm.
make us like the good little girl on our knees for the patriarchy if we were to embrace those sides of ourselves, right? Like, you're not supposed to do that. It would make you bad or wrong to do that. But she is the key to freedom. And, she has this sword. And so she's slashing through these illusions and helping you to remove these masks that you might be wearing that are keeping you in these good girl roles and playing these like Oscar worthy performances in your life that aren't actually who you truly are. But might get you an Academy Award or something if you were if you were up for it. But yeah, it's when I started working with her, it was really connecting to these deeper, darker parts of myself, the rage especially that I didn't know I had been carrying my entire life. Rage from being abused, rage from being shut down, rage from being taught that things that were actually natural and inherent to me were villainized and demonized and shamed, and that it was just like a reckoning and coming face to face with this force of nature that I had never knew existed inside of me because I was taught to be nice
Mhm.
and pleasing and on my best behavior my whole life. And so Kali represents this like divine ecstatic love that is removing anything that is false from your life to serve you. It's all in the name of love, like true real love,
Mhm.
not just romantic love, because that's a whole other thing that I have like beef with right now. But um yeah, and then Lilith, she started coming through for me. And it's like every time I've worked with, and I work a lot with Lilith and Mary Magdalene and Isis,
Yes.
those are kind of like my main bitches right now. I have altars to them in my home. And
Mhm.
Lilith was Adam's first wife. So most people think it was Eve. Lilith was made equally, whereas Eve
Mhm.
allegedly came from Adam's rib. Lilith was made of the same earth and dust that he was, so they were equal. However, Adam wanted Lilith to be the submissive, subservient, good wife, and he wanted to be on top during sex, and she was like, "No, I want to be on top during sex. I want to live a life of freedom." So she ended up um, leaving, and then Adam whined to Daddy God, like, "Oh, Lilith left and she doesn't want to, like, she wants to be on top and she's not being like the good girl you promised me she'd be." And so, like, she ends up getting exiled and outcasted and then demonized, turned into this archetype of like apparently stealing men's semen in the night when they have wet dreams and eating babies. And, she's just turned into this whole, I love the idea of her. And I kind of hold like this. I've seen people say, like, oh, did Eve
Mm.
actually eat the apple or was it Adam and then he blamed her? But if we're looking at
Knowledge.
like the apple
Yeah.
in terms of like knowledge, I could see Eve being the one that would bite it
Exactly.
because there's no way men are ever going to set us free. So, Lilith is also said to be the serpent that tempted Eve to take the bite of the apple that would essentially change everything and, doom women to painful childbirth and all of that and painful menstrual cycles. And so Lilith to me represents an aspect of the feminine that is more committed to freedom, to power. She's not here to be submissive. She wants to be on top. She wants to
Mhm.
be expressed. She wants to be who she came here to be. That's what she wants more than anything. So she represents the uninhibited sexual freedom and power, but also just this deep devotion to, I don't care if you exile me,
Yes.
I'm going to follow
Amazing.
what's true
I
for
love that
me.
Yes.
so much. And then, I mean, if we're just doing them all, like, what are you working with Mary Magdalene or like how and Isis as well?
Hmm. Yeah, Mary Magdalene also came through for me when I was 24, 25, and I had read some books that mentioned her, and I think she was kind of always there in the periphery. So, for context, I grew up in a family that was religious, but not like, I actually didn't realize how religious my family was until I would say the last couple of years because I just, my parents didn't force anything on me. They tried to get me to read the Bible. They did force me to go to church with my
Yeah.
uncle several times, and I realized instantly I hate this. Like I don't I don't belong here. But my mom was raised Seventh-day
Oh,
Adventist,
wow.
and she got pregnant when she was, like, 16, 17,
Ugh.
and she tried to come back, and they would not let her come back unless she took out her jewelry, so she
Her
basically got
jewelry.
exiled from the church, and a lot of my family, like, I grew up with very yeah, yeah, they're very, extreme. And then, like, we lived next door to my dad's family, which is like a big German family, and they were Christian. So I had like these overly religious uncles that were constantly preaching about us
Oh my
kids, like,
god.
you're eating that, that's bad. Like, just hearing it and, like, not really taking it seriously, but you're taking it in whether you realize it or not. And so,
Yeah.
and the conditioning kind of just exists in everything, like, it's there. So I was not religious. My parents tried. It was kind of baked into everything, but I grew up with, family members who were religious. And so for me, I didn't really know much about Mary Magdalene other than the fact that she was considered the penitent prostitute. She was the opposite
Yeah,
of
right.
Mother Mary, who was the virginal woman with immaculate conception. Yeah, and then Mary Magdalene was the penitent prostitute until later um, she was renounced as a saint. Oh, you're not sexual anymore. You're just a saint. We lied. Sorry. And so she was given a feast day on July 22nd, but now she's seen as like a saint, the apostle of the apostles, but they've
Mhm.
completely stripped her sexuality the same way they did with Mother Mary. And so in my journey with Mary Magdalene, she really started to come through for me when I was pregnant, and I didn't understand why, but I most of my experience in working with any archetype goddess aspect is that it's very personal for
Mhm.
me. I usually have experiences first and then external things come in to reinforce it. So cards that I pull, books that find their way to me, podcast episodes, and then it's like, oh, that experience I had of this energy or this, being is being reinforced by whatever this is. So Mary Magdalene, the way that I work with her is very personal and unique. I see her as, yes, the apostle of the apostles, but I'm not personally interested in her only as like the second half of Jesus because a lot of the texts point to the fact that they could have been lovers, beloveds, married, had a child together or children together. And I believe that that's all true. Like that just feels right for me. And most people, when they embrace that or believe that, they teach her as like, oh, she's the counterpart to Jesus versus she's a
Mhm.
woman in her own right. She was a spiritual authority. She was a leader. She was his benefactor. So she actually funded his ministry. And what has come through for me with her is that she was a trained temple priestess. She was a sacred whore, a holy whore, if you will. Like she was trained in these arts, these mysteries, these rites of Isis, and Isis being an Egyptian goddess who was essentially like in love with her brother, her twin from the womb, and their other brother murdered him. And she had to go searching for all of his different parts and remember him, like re put him back together. And so yeah, a lot of wild stories in some of these goddesses and archetypes. I'm like, what? But for me, it's about these archetypes that represent the forbidden, that represent authority and leadership and our power and our sexuality. So I did in 2022, I launched a 9-month mystery school called Mary Magdalene Sex Priestess. And I took a group of women through self initiating and then self-ordaining themselves because a big thing around women being a
Mhm.
priestess is women were taught that they couldn't be priestesses even though they were the original bankers and they do exist and they have that Mary Magdalene was a trained priestess because she was the one that anointed Jesus, which is not a role that you just give to your average person, and she was the first one to see him after his resurrection, and she was also the one kind of passing on some of the teachings after he was gone. And so the way that I work with her is like we're walking a modern day version of her pathway and her teachings and what I believe she stood for as it comes through for me. And, every woman that I work with Mary Magdalene around is like, well, what is she coming through for you? What are her messages for you? What feels true for you? It's not because there's so much mystery around her and pages of her own gospel have been ripped out. So there's just which is what I also love about her, as awful as it is like, were those pages ripped out for
Mhm.
nefarious reasons or for protective reasons, but either way, I'm gonna embrace the mystery
Yeah, I
around
mean,
her.
I'm just thinking about the guest we had last week. Her whole business is she's like a sex worker advocate, but her business is called like the oldest profession. And she was talking about like these powerful women. Like she told us that the first woman that ever ran for president was a sex worker in the 1800s and how she had been like written out of history. And it's like, how many times
Mhm.
have powerful women just been written out of history
Mhm.
to, keep everybody else from trying to be who they feel like they are or just acting like no one has ever done anything to benefit society? Like, it's crazy. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, we talked to her
Yeah,
last
I love
week.
the
She's
Oldest
amazing.
Profession podcast. And I'm assuming yeah, yeah, I actually my favorite thing to do when I'm having a really hard moment is to listen to any podcast. Like I work with like these red thread women or scarlet women. It's women
Yeah.
who were, like in the past, but also women now. Like I have a lot of clients who are sex workers who and I've worked with trained dominatrixes and there's
Mhm.
these women who like courtesans and temple priestesses, women who kind of walked this path of we're connecting to eros and we're connected to sexuality and this is a vital aspect of who we are. Whenever I'm having a hard time, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to listen to a podcast, I'm going to listen to a story, I'm going to read a book, I'm going to read a chapter about, a sex worker, a courtesan, a priestess, someone that
Mhm.
moved through it and moved through it and became even more powerful. So I mean, I'm absolutely an advocate for sex workers as well because
Yep.
Yep.
it's work. It's work and people don't see it
Mhm.
that way and it carries so much stigma and shame. And so a lot of my work is also about helping women to dismantle that shame so that we can truly be who we're here to be, like regardless of what your business is, regardless of what your work is. But if you're going to connect to this
Mhm.
energy, you need to understand the history of women whose lives were
Mhm.
at stake as their profession, right? So we can honor
Yeah,
the history of those women
100%.
and the
So
women
I'm
who still do it
curious,
to this
like
day.
moving through all of your growth and then coming to like finding a partner to have a child with, like, did you guys get married? Was this like a boyfriend? Are you still with them? And then what is all of that like being this big, powerful sexual being that you like show up for yourself? Like, how does that show up in a relationship with a man that's not like afraid of that?
That's a great question. So we met for my celibacy journey, and he was actually my neighbor. So I moved into this old cottage that was like a mother-in-law house, like it's the back little house, and it was my dad's best friend. They owned the property, and right as I moved in, I didn't realize they were selling the property. And so my current partner's family came from Illinois. They bought the property. It was the main house, the little house I lived in, and then a whole apartment building. So he moved into the apartment building and we were neighbors. And I would say there was like a year where like we knew that each other lived there, but like we weren't talking to each other because he's actually 5 years younger than me. And I was just like, okay, I just got out of a serious relationship. I kind of started dating a little bit and was like, "Oh, I don't think this is for me. Like these men are just not it." And I had so many like shadowy experiences with men, especially when I found out the work that I did. Like it was
Mhm.
awful, the assumptions that they
Mhm.
have and the weird way they would start behaving. And so, I don't know, one day we became friends and it kind of just developed into us becoming lovers, and there was, like, a lot of tumultuousness that happened at first. I think that for me, I had a lot of patterns from childhood, and so I, like, was
Mhm.
healing a lot of that, but it wasn't just showing up in my relationship, it was showing up everywhere in my life as your attachment style and your patterns from childhood and your nervous system tend to do. They're not just like
Mhm.
impacting one area, they're kind of like everywhere. And then when I was 27, my dad passed
Wow.
away. And 3 weeks later, I ended up getting pregnant. And, my partner and I eventually ended up like developing like a legitimate relationship after kind of like healing some of the like push pull dynamics that I had with him. But he's, always been very supportive of me. Like, I've never felt like I have to be less sexual. We've, gone on journeys together and tried different things, but I think there was a period of time, and this is when I still kind of had one foot in the sexual polarity world and the like really messed up David data stuff that, you know, taught you that, oh, men in the masculine crave freedom and women in the feminine have this yearning for love, even though I have always wanted freedom from from a young age. But again, oh, that makes you masculine, whatever. Yeah, that's something I've been like reclaiming my power from the last year is like, I think that most of the qualities that they actually attribute to masculinity are
100%.
actually just aspects of the feminine. And it's like, what even is this? Yeah.
Okay.
So our daughter is 7 now, and we're not married. I'm very like, I do not want to get married. I don't see much value in it for women unless you kind of like, yeah, I'm in this space right now where I'm like decentering men, even though I'm in a relationship. I have a lot of like feelings about marriage and relationship, and I'm very clear that I don't want to get married. I don't want to have any more children. And motherhood has been a really intense journey for me as well. And
Mm.
I wish that people would have talked
Mhm.
more honestly about that too before I'd gotten pregnant. But um yeah, so he's always been supportive, and he's always kind of been willing to go along with my shenanigans of like, oh, let's take this sex course together. Let's do these things together. And he knew from
Mhm.
the very beginning what he was signing up for, because I made it very clear that this is who I am, this is what I'm here to do, this is the work that I'm passionate about. Like, I'm not going to play small. But anyways, I think I was getting to a point of like, I thought when I was in the sexual polarity world that I needed to basically be with a male version of myself. And so I was like, oh, I need to be with
Ew.
like
Ew.
a
Ew.
tantric
No.
man, which now I'm like, ew, no.
That is like
Like,
a
yeah,
big ol' ick
no,
for me.
no.
Honestly,
Um,
these spiritual men need to stay in their lane anyways. I
yeah.
am
So my
just
partner's
like,
kind of
red flag. Leave it
Uh-huh.
to the women.
Uh-huh.
yes. Yeah, you
No.
don't need to be teaching anyone about the divine feminine. You
Put
don't
the
need to have
microphones down.
like a podcast platform. Like, please just stop talking. Like,
Wasn't
you
there
Men
don't.
just
have
like
talked enough.
Yes,
a reel I
yes.
sent you the other day that
My friends
was, I
Lauren and
forget
I.
what the man was, but it was like, take these microphones away from men. Like,
No,
there should be
no
like
more.
a whole process, like getting a gun to get a microphone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. It
Excuse
just
me.
sounds kind of fucked up. I was like
Yeah.
falling asleep last night thinking about how I don't respect any men. Except I do respect my husband as an equal and a partner, but then I'm going through my head thinking about all the men I know, and I'm like, no, no, don't respect that person. And it's just like they need to earn it, I think, at this point, because they have not shown that they respect women in
Mhm.
any way.
Mhm.
So it's like you have to earn it from me at this point.
Mhm.
So I'm all about decentering men. We don't need it. It's been
Mhm.
centuries and centuries and
Yeah.
centuries. And then guess what? They're ruining the entire planet and the entire world, and they need to be done.
Yeah. It's
Switch
Yeah.
it over.
crazy.
That's my rant for today.
Yeah, I also don't believe that
No.
men are designed to be leaders. Like, I don't think they're natural leaders. We're given these ideas that men are the natural providers,
Literally,
protectors,
when
and
you were
leaders. And I'm like,
talking
but you're not.
earlier, I wrote down like
You're doing
the more
nothing.
powerful women are, the more like open and uplifted men could be if they would allow us to be in our full power. It would
Right.
allow them to be like better people in society and more free with themselves and hold less shame as well. And it's
Yeah.
just like I we how do we transition
I know.
all of this? And I mean, women are allowed to talk more than they ever have been. Like, we are allowed to wear pants and have sex and own businesses. And I just don't know if it's like too late. Like the planet's gonna die before we even get our chance. you know?
Yeah, it's intense, especially now. It kind
Oh
of feels
God,
like
yeah.
patriarchy is tantruming, you know? And
Yeah.
it's like, y'all,
Mhm.
you did this. You did this. You created this and now you're upset. And, specifically, I think that when I studied with a dominatrix
Mhm.
and just kind of embracing that I've always been a dominant woman and a lot of the qualities that I was labeled with as a child, like being bossy
Yeah.
and um bitchy and knowing what I wanted and kind of like being shut down from being told those things so many times, being a brat.
Mhm.
It's like, no, I just knew what I wanted. And I wanted to be in charge. And that's why I love working with Lilith because I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm a leader. I want to be on top. I want to be in charge. Like, yes, there's different
Right.
aspects to me. I want to be able to surrender and receive and like
Right.
have softness. But when you're told that that's the only purpose of the feminine and then it's
Yeah.
actually about becoming soft for a
Fuck that.
man's
Agree.
comfort, absolutely not. And so the more I have embraced like that I just am a dominatrix through and through, like my mistress self just is who I am. Like I've had to I thought that it was going to be part of my profession and I, have had to step away from that being something that I pursued professionally at the time, but it's like that's still just who I am. Like the way that I
Mhm.
think about men is very much from a dominatrix perspective where it's
Mhm.
like you're not a natural leader, you're not a provider, you're not a
Mhm.
protector. You belong worshiping at the feet of women as the goddess that they are. And men are so like, if we look at the men who are in charge and the men that are like the we have like the terrible men, right, who are running the country and running the world. But then
Yeah.
there's all the men underneath who are essentially drones who are just upholding
Right.
everything, but they believe that they're the nice, good guys. They're not as bad as that guy, but they're all like, they just want to be
Gay.
submissive to other men. And it's like, if you all just admitted that, we could like you all
Because
just want
they're
to be
gay and they
submissive.
don't like
So why
women.
don't we just
They
create a
should
better
just fuck each
dynamic for the world
other.
where women
I'm sorry. Nothing wrong
yes,
with
they
being
hate
gay, but
women. They
like a
really do.
closeted
Because
man is terrifying.
Well, it's
Like,
the
yeah.
same
go be
people
open
who think that being gay is a choice. It's because they've made a
because they've made a
choice.
choice to not be
Yeah.
gay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then they don't want other people to who are actually
It's
like gay and
triggering.
out to be gay and
Yes.
out
Yeah,
because how dare you
exactly.
be the thing
Yes.
that I can't be. Yeah. And they're just like very homosocial,
Slapping
homoerotic with each other.
acid.
It's
Yeah.
like they create all of these things where they get to touch each
Ball
other, rub up against
slapping.
each other, be violent with each other. Yeah, it's
So
like,
weird.
why don't you all just
Boys.
I saw a video of Nick
yes.
Fuentes the other day saying it was like gay to sleep with women. I'm like, buddy, you're so close. Like, so close. He's like, you only have sex with women to make a baby. And if you're doing it any other way, basically that's like gay. I'm like,
That's so
oh,
crazy.
yeah. Um,
I keep wondering this whole time, and we've been trying to ask in the beginning, but
oh
it's like a
yeah,
new
your
thing.
signs.
Yeah, do you know your big three in astrology?
Yes. I'm an
Oh,
Aries
Okay, I was
sun,
feeling
love
some
it.
Capricorn
Pisces
moon, and
energy.
Pisces
I'm like,
rising.
what's in your eighth house? Where's Scorpio for you? What planets do you have there? Because there's so much. Yeah, like just
I'm like,
everything you're
okay,
doing
let's
is
open up
very
my
eighth
chart.
house Scorpio energy
Well,
too. And yeah, I think also the Aries. Okay, girl,
my
yes.
Lilith is in
So,
Scorpio.
Love that. So good.
I would love to talk about motherhood with you and kind of like your journey with that and raising a like woman yourself. Well, a girl that will be a woman.
Yeah. Well, motherhood has certainly been a journey for me. It has honestly it's been a pathway
Mhm.
that's brought up a lot of like pain and trauma for me. And, there's so many things. And like, if you're a woman who's listening to this who is single and or child free and has felt the shame and the pressure, like I hope that you hear this and take it into consideration. Or if you're a woman who has children and you felt alone, like some of the things that I've really struggled with is, when I was growing up,
Mhm.
I experienced a lot of
Mhm.
chaos and violence and abuse from my dad. And no one talks about how when you're trying to raise a child differently than you were raised,
Holy
Wow.
and
shit.
my daughter's a triple
Yeah.
Virgo, and so she's very intense. Like most of her chart is Virgo, Capricorn, and
Wow.
Scorpio
So
with a little bit of
great.
Leo. And I'm like, this is the scariest chart I think I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So she's very serious as a child. I think that what I've been uncovering in the last like 6 months is that she
Mm-hmm.
is highly sensitive. And I didn't have language for that at first. There's a book I've been reading called Big Reactors, and the woman calls children like that big reactors. They can seem defiant, oppositional, they have really
Mhm.
That's
intense,
very
sometimes violent
Virgo from what
meltdowns.
I've
And
seen in
that is
other
something that I've
children as well.
struggled. Yeah, she
Mhm.
can go from 0 to 60 like that. And I'm talking the things she says to me, the violence that like I'm like, I feel like a damn battered woman as the mother in my relationship with my child. Like she could fly at me, and the things she's saying, and when like holding that abuse in my body and then trying to like hold my child who's actively throwing things at me and tantruming. And children like that are the
Mhm.
most empathetic, deeply feeling children. Like she is not like, because there were times where I was like, is she a sociopath? Am I raising a
Just a
sociopath?
Virgo.
And, this book is really helping me
Just
to like
kidding.
heal my thoughts around her. Yeah, because
Yeah.
she is the kindest, sweetest girl. Like she feels so deeply. And she actually has an appointment after I pick her up from school today. We've been working with an occupational therapist to help her
Mhm.
with the meltdowns, with the sensory stuff, because she gets
Mhm.
really overstimulated. There's certain textures that she doesn't like. And she's very also direct, demanding, like bossy, like things that I was labeled as a child. Like she's that times 10. And so I think that's something I've been grappling with is like, oh, I want to raise her to be like
Mm-hmm.
free and powerful, but then she directs it at me and I'm like, whoa, this is like,
Yeah.
how do we balance this? Like, I'm raising you to be so like who you're supposed to be, but also,
Yeah.
damn, when you put that fire on me, it's like, cool. But I know that I can hold it and I know that I can handle it. But, motherhood has been really hard for me. And there's been,
Mhm.
dynamics in my relationship that have been really hard as well because of some of the inequality in our household and domestic life. Like I come from a mother line of women who I believe were not supposed to be mothers and ended up being mothers.
Yeah.
And the abandonment wound there has been really intense. And so my system, whenever I'm really overwhelmed, I go into like
Right.
the flight response and I have to like get away. And there's like just
Yep.
so much shame that can come through in motherhood because there's no manual
Yep.
on it. Like every child is different. And if you're committed to raising a child who you essentially want
Mhm.
them to be who they're supposed to be, not who you think they should be, it's just,
Yeah.
and then they have their own personality, and there's just so much in the world. And so many children, I
Mhm.
think, in this generation are sensitive and deeply feeling, but no one can understand that. And so they're like putting all of these like, things on these children. And it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, motherhood is a journey for sure.
I was
Yeah.
thinking yesterday, I
It's
have a
really
2-year-old, so
intense.
I was
I'm
just
not even
thinking
gonna
yesterday,
lie.
like, I'm just her guide. Like, it's her show, it's her thing. Like, I'm just here to, like, keep
Mhm.
her, safe and on the right track, but it's not my story to tell or to fix or to whatever. Like, and I mean, she's 2, so,
Yeah.
come back when she's 7. Um, but I'm
Yeah.
think that it's easier to try to, like, beat your kids into submission and tell them to, like, shut up and behave than to allow them to freely be who they're meant to be, and
Mhm.
nobody I know has teenagers yet. They're all around, like, 9 or 10, so I'm, like, very curious to see how this all pans out with us all parenting differently. It's TBD, but, um, yeah, I'm excited to see how.
Ooh, I'm terrified for
Yeah,
that time.
I
Like,
a lot of my friends and family are, I think. My
I'm
niece is kinda
wondering
scary.
I'm wondering too, like, you were very naturally in tune with your own eroticism, I guess, as a child. I don't know if that's the right way to say that, but have you noticed that with your daughter, or have you thought about if that does come up, like how you would help her to become connected to that without, shaming her for it?
Yeah, I haven't noticed like any of the signs that I think that it's also very different because when I was growing up, like
Mhm.
what is the term? Like a bedroom
Right.
child where children are kind of just like go outside or go to your bedroom. Like I think what I've
Yeah,
seen
same.
people
Cute.
say now is like, "Oh, I'm
Yeah.
raising a
Mhm.
living room child," where your
Yeah.
kid's allowed to reside freely in the house, you know? So, like, my daughter and I are if she's not at
Yeah.
school or
Mhm.
she's not somewhere at childcare, like, we're pretty much together all of the time. And, like, she and I, like, still bed share because she just, like, cannot sleep without me, which has also been another struggle for me because I'm like, I miss having my own bed. I also don't wanna sleep with my partner, so sometimes I sleep alone in our big bed, but only if she's having a sleepover because if I'm home, she's, like,
Mhm.
gotta be right there with me. But I think that the fact that like also from a young age, things that I do differently now that those generations of like my grandparents, my aunts, and my own parents didn't do is like there are age appropriate ways to help prepare your child to one day not carry shame around their sexuality, which is some of the first things that we started to do, even when she was in diapers, is like
Yes.
when we were changing her,
Yes.
we
Same.
would give her the actual anatomical terms of like, okay, you know what your vulva is, like, so giving her
Mhm.
those terms, helping to teach her consent, and just like helping her, like reading her different books about
Right.
consent,
Right.
about like, obviously not going into graphic things about sex, but like, oh, how are babies made from
Mhm.
the terms of like, the egg and the sperm and that type of stuff. But, I think that for me, it's just like being open with her and also seeing that there are rites of passage that I had to lead myself through in my 20s that I wish still existed. Like thinking about priestesses, right? And when in certain tribes and
Right.
cultures, still, it's like when you start your first bleed, there are certain rituals that you get taken through. And it's like most of
Yeah.
us in the Western world don't have access to that. And so it's my hope that when she starts like coming of age in that way, and it's like
Mhm.
age appropriate conversations, right, for each age as they continue to progress of like, okay, now it's like with
Right.
everything coming to light in the world, it's like, how do I help her
Right.
identify safe and
Right.
Uh-huh.
unsafe people, not just strangers, but family members, because that's where
Totally.
most of the
Yes.
the sexual abuse comes from is from someone that the child knows. So it's like helping her to
Yeah.
trust her body, that like gut instinct that you feel when something's off, right? Like not it's like, how can I help her
Yeah.
not be submissive, essentially? How can I help her
Yeah.
be strong and know that her voice is safe, that she can disagree with me and her father, which she has no problem doing, like, but it's like
Yeah.
reinforcing a lot of the things that I didn't have access
Yeah.
to, where it's like you just respect that adult because they're an adult. Oh, if that person wants to like say or do that thing that you
Right.
feel uncomfortable, whatever. Like they know best for you. If
Right.
you don't want to hug your grandma, you hug your grandma. How dare you? Just respect your grandma. So it's like things like that where I'm just trying to teach her that,
Mhm.
this is okay behavior, this is not okay behavior, and hoping that when she, is of a certain age that I can start passing down these rites and rituals to her and it's like for example, I don't know if you can see this, but I have like this artwork here of like a
Right.
woman self pleasuring. And it's not like I have like pornographic
It
art all over my house or
it's not
whatever,
so
but it's like
taboo.
this is a very open
Yeah.
household. Like she sees me like in my lingerie or
Mhm.
naked. Like, yeah. And it's not like a weird thing, but it's like teaching her about her body and being like having those conversations with her. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of like taking it step by step as she grows of like what are the
Totally.
conversations I wish I had had at that age and helping to lead her to that place where eventually the conversations will be like a little bit more okay, you might be having these urges, you might be having these
Mhm.
feelings, your body's having like these hormonal surges. So how can we create a safe space where dialogue is normal and natural for her so that it's not like when I was 16 and my dad comes in and is like, Amber, I want to talk to you about the birds and the bees. And I'm like, Dad, let me stop you right there.
Yeah.
I've already heard
Also,
about this
maybe a
at
little
school
late.
and I
Mom was
don't need
already
to hear it
pregnant
from
by
you.
then.
Like, yes.
Okay,
I
so
love all that. That's like I think about that
So
a lot. Like
true.
I'm not a mother biologically. I'm like am just of the village and, you know, do desire to be a mom, which I didn't always until I was like 35. And I think about that a lot with my own like upbringing and sexual abuse and you know, very connected knowing like orgasm at a young age before I had the word and all those things. And I just like I really struggle and like with everything that's very real in our world, like it's so triggering right now to exist as a woman. And it's also like fueling and like igniting that rage and like telling us it's okay to like fucking be pissed off right now and scream from the rooftops, which I really have a lot of hope in what's being exposed right now for the future and how we can change you know, to the matriarchy. But anyways, I just really do think about that. And a lot of my friends who do have children, they are girls and my siblings have children and, you know, there's stuff that's happening that I'm just like, how do we change this dialogue? How do we, you know, if I was in the situation, how would I do it? And of course, like we're all going to fuck up. There's no right way. There's no real handbook. And like you're saying too, every child's different. But I think about it a lot and like it's got to be healing and triggering and all the things to be a mother in this world now and just wanting so badly to protect your child in that way. And yeah, I think like everything you said just really resonates. And I think it's such a beautiful way to approach it of like, you know, checking in with your intuition and your feeling. And if you don't want to give your uncle a hug or a kiss, like that's okay. And just thinking about like how much that was drilled into us as in our generations of like, nope, that is the adult and you listen and like how troubling that can be in these situations and how so many of us have been hurt or abused as children because of that conditioning. So yeah, I think I just want to thank you for
Yep.
sharing how you handle that because I think it is important and you're probably just learning as you go. Like there's no real right way to do it. Like it's got to be so challenging to navigate. So it sounds like you're doing it beautifully.
I agree.
Love that. Right.
Thank you. Yeah, some days it doesn't feel that way at all. I'm just like, am I just fucking
Yes
up
and
my
no.
kid left and right? But I
Like,
also know, like, one day, yeah, yes and no. And like, there was a time where my partner and I were having like a conversation in front of her. She was like in the back seat and we were like playfully arguing. It wasn't like there was no raised voices. We were literally laughing. And she's like, guys, stop arguing or fighting. And I just had this moment where I like burst into tears because I grew up in a
oh,
household
yeah.
watching my dad choke my mom, get taken away in handcuffs, and constantly hearing my parents fighting and like coming out of my bedroom and things just being destroyed and
Mhm.
like constantly threatening to
Right.
divorce each other and just wishing like
Yeah.
I wish you would like just stop fighting and divorce each other. And you know, to have my daughter hear us having like a playful conversation and be like, stop
Yeah.
fighting. And it's like a sweet baby girl. Like, I'm so glad you never have
Right.
to know the version of
Right.
fighting that I
Mhm.
had
And
to
that she
live
also
through. And
feels safe
that's the
enough
whole
to
point, right?
say that in that moment.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, I mean, she is very vocal and I feel like my main goal for her is like I
Yes.
want to raise a daughter that is kind but not nice. I want to raise a daughter who knows what she wants and is willing to go for it, and it's also painful to see the little ways
Right.
in which the conditioning has already started to come in with her and like some of the things
Yeah.
that she says or and I'm like, where did you learn that? Like that doesn't have to be true. And you know, trying to have these conversations with her when I
It's
do see it come
such
in and
a
it's just like again, this is just the
yeah, it's such a
Yeah, are
large
how
part
you
of
deep and
in
society.
insidious
like
the
a
conditioning
rural
is.
community where you're at? And like what is yeah, and like this I mean she
Yeah,
goes to
it's
school
like
and
a
so then
small
there's just
town.
like a hodgepodge of whatever those children's experiences are and they're all, you can't like change that unless you like
Mhm.
shelter them their whole lives, which is
It's
also a
something else.
weird
Yeah.
indoctrinating of your own beliefs. And it's you just hope that you like give them enough
Yes,
information at
yeah.
home so that they make good choices out there. But like we are raised by our peers. Like, we spend so much time
Totally.
at school and in sports and doing all these things. And then once they're older than 8, you're with your friends all the time. And so, you can only do so much up to that point to make sure that they are strong enough in themselves to go forward.
Yes, and that's also why I feel like the conversations around consent and bodily autonomy
Yeah.
matter, because it's also peer on peer abuse that's very common. And when you're surrounded, and like even just thinking back to some of the past memories
Yep.
that I had where like me and my cousins or me and some of my girlfriends were like experimenting on things with each other. And it's like, not only do kids like learn things from whatever that random kid in their classroom says, and they come home and they're like, so and so said this, and you're like, what? But it's like, children come from so many different backgrounds, and you never have any idea what's going on. And like, yeah, we can't shelter them forever, but how do we help set them up to know that, like, also friendships with children and relationships and like all these different dynamics, and like, how do you think for yourself? And
Yep.
like, even them
So
thinking about
much.
like the bullying that happens. It's like,
Mhm.
motherhood,
Yeah, I
parenthood
agree.
is just so
Wild.
intense.
So, I would love to kind of take us to like where you're at with your business and what you're offering and all of that now, and how people can like get in touch with you to work with you.
Yeah. So, thank you. My current chapter is focusing on leadership. So, working with women leaders, especially women who kind of have like a darker edge to them. I feel like that's my specialty is, working with women who are witches, priestesses, hedonists, harlots, like working with the women who are here with a big mission and they have big desires. They're the women who have typically been outcasted from different communities. Even some of the communities like BDSM and kink and tantra. It's like I never felt like I fit in with a lot of those communities, even despite the fact that they claim to be so open. And it's like I feel like I'm here gathering these rebels and these hedonists and these women who know that they're here to lead this revolutionary taboo movement because the way that they live is outside of the norms of society. So their mission is a little bit more provocative. It's a little bit more taboo. It plays into these um, themes and realms that your average person, even if they're in the same industry, wouldn't dare to speak or touch on. So, working with women who know that they're here to hold a lot of money and wealth,
Sign
holding
me up.
positions of power and leadership, and being influential. Yeah. Yeah. And, in my world, the biggest, like at the core, it doesn't matter what I'm talking about, whether I'm talking about, business, money, sex, like the core of my work is always coming back to the erotic. So we're connecting to erotic energy as this creative energy, as this world shaping force that you can essentially use by connecting to it in your body, commanding it, directing it, and allowing it to be the fuel and the foundation of your movement. So we're using this energy intentionally and consciously to create further reach, to create more money, to impact the world, to basically shape the world and shape culture and influence the world in a direction that feels more matriarchal, because I feel like a lot of the women that I'm connecting with and serve like have as clients is we want to see a world where everyone is free and everyone is resourced and the most vulnerable are centered, but also like we want to see more
Yes.
women in positions of power and leadership and holding the wealth. And so I have a mastermind open right now called the Sanctum, and if someone is wanting to get like a taste of my world, I have an audio course called Lead from Your Erotic Edge. So they can get access to that. Otherwise,
Cool.
they can apply
So
to be part of
good.
the
So
I'm like,
mastermind.
needed.
put Amber in Congress. That's what we need.
I've been kind of thinking about that like lately. Not me going into Congress,
Yeah.
but like how we need more women like in our world doing this kind of work, and like what does that look like going into, like, I don't think I would ever want to be someone in politics, so I just think it's so needed, like that shift.
Mhm.
And people like you who are doing work like this of like that's really what it's going to take is more of us like stepping up, and who knows in 20 years how I'll feel by
Yeah.
then, what becomes, awakened. But Yeah, so needed. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for doing that work and helping
So impressive.
drive other feminine beings to that power. It's so needed.
Another thing I learned from this podcast is like all the
Thank
like
you.
deep, beautiful work that people like do for each other all comes from like deeply exploring yourself and like
Mhm.
being authentic. And
Mhm.
when you show up as truly authentically yourself as possible, that's when like the world changes and you're
Yeah.
helping to change and shift others. And
Yeah.
it's such a disservice to the
Mhm.
world to like hide parts of
Yeah.
yourself.
Or try to be like anybody else.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
like eh, it's it's a good thing to not be liked by some people. Like
Mhm.
you're not ever going to be everyone's cup of tea, and that's a good thing. And I think that was like the hardest thing for me to ever come to terms with. Like I just wanted to be
Yes.
liked by everyone, but
Mhm.
I don't like everyone, so that doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. I'm
No.
not here to be the likable good girl anymore. Because most of the people, when I look at like, oh, who am I afraid? Like, if I make more money, if I become hotter, richer, more well fucked, like, if I become the version of
Yeah.
Right.
myself that I know I'm here to be, who am I afraid isn't going to like
Right.
me? And
And
it's
people you
people
don't
who
like.
aren't doing shit with their lives, who
Yeah.
are miserable, who
Why? Is
I
it
don't
like
actually care. Yeah. People I don't like. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
being
Yep.
likable is a death sentence. It's like you're just
Yeah.
committing to being a watered down, palatable, digestible version of yourself.
Yeah.
And that's just never going to serve anyone. And I would rather have a smaller group of people who really see me and resonate with me than be palatable or basic for the masses. Like, that's just
Yeah.
not how
Yeah.
my work is anyway. My work is pretty specific and specialized and
Mhm.
rare considering we work with such taboo, dark themes. And the more I tried to be likable, the more I
Mhm.
tried to be the pink bows, like beige Chanel wearing
Yeah.
version. Like it was just
Yeah.
wearing a costume and feeling like it doesn't even fit me because it's not who I am. Like I'm here for a very specific group of
Mhm.
people, and those are the people that you don't
Mhm.
have to perform for, you don't have to make yourself smaller for, you don't like they're not going to collapse in your presence. And so
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's an exhausting way to hate yourself and hate your life, is to be twisting and contorting yourself so that some person
That's
who's
all part of
like,
the conditioning.
why?
Mhm.
Like, we've been
Like
conditioned,
they're never going
especially
to
as
give you
women, to
permission.
be likable,
Yes.
like, so that we can do whatever, the
Mhm.
men of the world or the people of the world want us to do. Like, it's all part of that. We want to fit in so bad. And
Yeah,
it's like, yeah, the older I get, the more I
it
realize, like,
is.
and I think that's very natural too. If you are authentic to yourself, like, you do start to kind of release some of that need to be liked, or yeah, I don't know. I have
Yeah.
plenty of people who like and care about me and vice versa. And I'm definitely in abundance of that in being
Mhm.
fucking authentic. Like, I've never had so many more real fucking connections
Yeah.
and just feeling so alive the more I've become more authentic, or have really like allowed myself to discover who I truly am and not feel shame or feel like I need to be any other way. And honestly, it's so crazy to think, like, I just turned 40 this last year, and like even up until 35 I was still like in that mold. So it just makes me so excited, like listening to your story, Amber, and like that you were able to discover so much about yourself and really accept so many parts of yourself, that I'm like, I can't wait to talk to you next year. I can't wait to talk to you in 5
Mhm.
years, and like how much more deep in this work you get, and like how much more authentic you get. Like, I just think it's such a beautiful thing, and I try not to shame myself also about being like, there's always been this uniqueness to me, but like still really trying to fit in up until even 35. And like it's part of my journey, and like I love hearing you talk about the things that like no longer resonate with you, but that it is a part of your journey and it got you to this place. And like us just accepting those parts of ourselves, like we needed those pieces to get to this part. Like, it is a part of the path, even though it's like, yeah, I don't resonate with that
Mhm.
anymore, and it's kind of embarrassing that I ever like thought that that was like something, but it really is part of the puzzle pieces. It's part of the breadcrumbs. And so for us to not shame ourselves for that process, and yeah, I don't know, you're just inspiring, and I can't wait to like hopefully connect again and chat more and like see who you become, because that is just the beautiful thing of life in general, is we are like more authentic and allowing ourselves to just
I
unfold.
agree.
It's fucking beautiful.
For me, I think something about motherhood made me like drop that. Like as
Yeah.
soon as I became a mom, I'm like, I don't fucking care. Like I
Right.
don't care about any of the things I cared about before.
Mhm.
And I'm just going to be
Yeah.
whoever I am. And I don't think I have figured out why yet, but I feel a lot different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Motherhood certainly
Right.
puts, I
Well,
think
yeah, I
there's like a
almost
sense of
died too.
mortality
So that
that
like
comes in when you become a
is
mother.
real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like when you're raising a tiny human,
Mhm.
and like the process of birth itself can be a
Mhm.
whole other, like, interdimensional journey that you go through. But it's like there's something about connecting to a small child and
Yeah.
realizing like, oh, they're watching them age so quickly and move so fast. It
Yeah.
just shows you, and it's like, do I really want to spend another moment? And I love, like, I'm not here to
Yeah.
shame the versions
Mhm.
of me, because I still have good girl parts of me. I still have parts of me that are like, well,
Mhm.
why didn't anybody like that post? It was so
Mhm.
good. And it's like, but she doesn't run my business. She doesn't make the decision. So I'm going to tend to these parts of me that are inner child, or that are good
Mhm.
girls, or, like inner patriarchal parts of me. I'm going to love them. And ultimately, I'm going to run and lead my life and my business, and I'm going to move from the version of me that is true. Like, underneath all the conditioning, underneath all the shame, underneath any of the, and motherhood has so many
Mhm.
other sets of judgment and rules, and
Mhm.
which is why it's so difficult to even speak honestly on motherhood, because it
Right.
doesn't matter what you do. You're
Yeah.
damned if you do, damned if you don't as a mother. And so I think there's this sense of like, well, if
Yeah.
I'm damned either way, I'm just going to be
I
who I'm
agree
here to
with that.
be. And like, who fucking cares?
Right.
Because either
Who
way, they're going
fucking
to
cares?
burn me at the stake for it.
I love it.
Snaps to that. Okay, so I think we're kind of like rounding up the end of this.
Yeah.
So if there's anything else that you kind of want to add about yourself, or that you think that people should know, like please let us know.
I think the last thing I'll just say in that space is the most important thing you can do is to follow
Yes.
the natural impulses that are inside of you, to follow the natural trajectory. I call it following the red thread, which is really just like your soul guiding you, and it's never going to lead you astray. There may be moments of death and rebirth where it seems like everything is falling apart, but it kind of circles back to like the conversation around Kali of like, if anything feels like it's falling apart right
Mhm.
now, it's actually serving you. It's here to help you. And if you're in any kind of dynamic, whether it's business, job, money, relationships, motherhood, if you're in any model of that,
Mhm.
which it's patriarchal, usually that feels outdated and oppressive, you have to be honest and ask yourself, like, is this serving me, or is this keeping me subservient to a
Mhm.
dynamic that I don't even choose for myself anymore? And I think that just being honest with yourself and being willing to like look into the deep, dark places within you that are terrifying to face it first, but that's where your power lives. Like, especially if it involves sexuality and things around money and leadership, because those are the places as women that we've been shamed. Like, oh, you're bad and you're responsible with money. You're not supposed to be a spiritual authority or a leader, which is where we go back to like the Mary Magdalene stuff. And, sexuality is bad and sinful. So it's really just like giving yourself permission to reclaim everything, because the older I get, the more I realize that all of the conditioning had one focus, which was for girls to become women whose only purpose is
Mhm.
to be likable so that they will be chosen by a man. And there's obviously all these little umbrellas underneath that, but that's the main conditioning. And it's like, don't spend your whole life focusing on someone else's potential and purpose and desires. Like, focus on you, focus on your desires, center your life, center yourself, follow that red thread of your soul and your desires that are guiding you, because that will always lead you to
Yeah, I
truth.
wonder if you have
Otherwise,
a
it's just
take
a distraction.
for men that feel like they're struggling with like their relationships or their sexuality or being caught up in the matrix of the patriarchy. Like, Do you have anything to say to them?
I'm trying to like
Right.
bypass the part of me that's like, fuck men, you know, and to have like some compassion to know that there are some men who are struggling because
Yeah.
It
deep down we
doesn't
do
serve
know that the
anyone.
patriarchy also doesn't serve men. And it's like, find, right, find the places and the spaces where, and
Mhm.
I don't really know any that exist, unfortunately,
Yep.
because a lot of the ones that I
Yeah.
thought were legitimate, now it's like all you are doing is just perpetuating the same subservient and teaching men to be even more emboldened. So it's like, you
Mhm.
know, be discerning. And this is for anyone, like
Mhm.
be discerning about who your teachers and mentors are and your community is. But it's like, this is your opportunity to step up and not expect emotional labor from
Mhm.
women, to not expect that they're going to fix and save it for you, but to go on a journey
Mhm.
personally of what is my role in this? And what do I want for myself? Because the shame that we all experience is the driving force that creates all
Mhm.
of this depravity in the world. Like it's the shame and it's the control and it's the twisted and contorted power and sex dynamics. And so if you happen to be a man listening to this, like same advice is to follow that inner pull for you, but to question everything because the conditioning is going to convince you of certain things
Mhm.
that it's like a sense of entitlement, right? Of like, oh, the patriarchy just hands you all of this on a platter and you have to be willing to question that and go on a journey of like embracing the truth of who you are, which is likely got not
Yeah.
going to match up to the version of
Mhm.
And
masculinity
uplift
that
the
the patriarchy
powerful women
presents to
in your
you.
life and allow them the space to be fully authentic, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take a back seat.
Yeah. And don't be the man who's like, not all men. Like,
Yes.
sit down and listen to women
Go to a
and
girls'
do the work
night
within
as the
yourself,
only
right?
man.
Like, don't keep putting it on women 'cause that's
Okay.
Women are healing.
I know, we
That's
need
so
it.
good. Okay, well, we have two questions we like to ask all of our guests. And the first one is, what is something that you do for self-care that you just can't live without? Mm.
I want a bathtub
baths.
so bad. A
I take
day?
like 2 to 3 baths a
Oh, wow,
day.
Amazing.
bragger.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm always here
Jealous.
to brag. Yeah, like, the bath for me is I just
Mhm.
Oh, for
I
sure.
belong in the bath. It must be my Pisces energy or something because whenever I'm having like a hard moment or I'm stabilizing something, when I get done recording a podcast, I'm like, okay, let me go get in the bath. I do a lot of my work from the bath. Like I
Amazing.
One
record most
day.
of my own podcasts from the bath.
If you could tell your younger self one thing, what would it be?
It would be that you're not bad, you're not wrong, nothing about you is inherently shameful. Like you are good
Mm.
and you can trust who you are. You can trust everything that just feels natural. Like you don't have to go against your nature. I think that that's just what I would want little me to know is like, you're not bad. You're not
Yeah.
wrong. You're nothing to
Mm.
be ashamed of. You're
Ugh,
so lovable and worthy as you are.
Yes,
yes.
you are.
Telling my
Amazing.
younger self that too.
Yeah. We would be so honored if you could pull a card for all of us.
Yeah. Let me go grab, I guess, since we've been talking about Mary Magdalene,
Oh,
we'll,
yes,
we'll
babe.
pull from the Mary Magdalene Oracle. Okay. So maybe everyone that's listening, just close your eyes if you can and tune into your heart, your soul. Be open to receive the message that's going to come through for us. I'm going to open my eyes so I can see what's happening with the deck. Okay, actually, two came out. So we're just going to trust
Okay.
that. This is the first card, the true human. I am fully human and fully divine.
Mm.
Wow.
And I can either read from the booklet or interpret it myself or both.
Let's hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my work with Mary Magdalene is around this concept of the true human being, which is being fully human and fully divine, which means that both aspects of us are equally important. And sometimes, especially as women, we can over identify with one aspect. So we can get either
Mhm.
super into the spiritual divine that we start to bypass and shame and judge and deny
Yes.
our humanity, including money, desire, sexuality. And on the flip side, we can also do the same with our humanity. We can over identify with the pain, with the struggle, with the trauma, and we can get so bogged down in the everyday pain of life with the never ending to do list, with the client who didn't sign up, with the hard moment you had in motherhood or your relationship. And we can forget that we are divine. We can forget that we're the goddess incarnate, that we carry the power to command reality, and that like we're both, and both aspects are important in order for you to be like truly human, because the point of being human is that you'll forget to remember, and then you'll remember for the point of forgetting. And it's just like this beautiful cycle of embracing both sides. So that's what's coming through with that card.
Love that.
And then the second card is the second power. I trust what my soul desires, which feels really on point for everything that I was saying. And I'm not sure if I need to follow it up more.
Right. No, that's so spot on. And I love that. We talk about that a lot of like, you know, our job, our soul chose to be human on earth in this lifetime right now. And, you know, our job is to be human, but to not forget that we are also connected to the divine and the universe, and like we're all connected. So I just love that. That's just so reinforcing of our beliefs here.
Yeah. Never forget that you are the goddess.
Yes.
You're so magical.
Yes.
You're so well spoken. We are super grateful for your time today. And if anybody wants to find you, how can they connect with you and work with you?
You can find me on Instagram. That's my favorite place to hang out, at the Amber Renee. I'm also on Threads, Facebook, TikTok. Really don't know how TikTok works, but I love being a consumer on there. I mean, I post content, but it's like I still can't figure it out. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I also have a website at missamberrenee.com, and I have that's my new website anyway. My old one is theamberrenee.com. So there's a lot of stuff on there too, but it's really slow. But Instagram is probably my favorite place to play, so you can come hang out with me there.
Love
And
it.
Cast Eros Money Power.
Okay.
Yes. I love it so much. Thank you so much, Amber. This was such an inspiring moment in my life, and I'm just so grateful for your time and that we could connect. And yeah, just being here on Waking Up the Witch, it means so much.
Thank you both for having me. This was such a good conversation, and I hope that everyone takes away something that deeply serves you, because these are the conversations that we need to be having, especially as women, and especially as women with platforms.
Hell yeah.
It's true.
We agree.
This episode has been produced by my husband, Curtis Burgess.
Make sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Waking Up the Witch.
And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please email us at wakingupthewitch@gmail.com.
And don't forget to head over to the link in our bio on Instagram for all the ways to connect with both Amber and Taylor. And go to moonbeeswellness.com for all your self-care and witchy needs. We love you. Bye.
Bye.
Ow. Ow.